across where the mine entrance is, right here. And up there, there's a crack between two rocks. That's a vein of gold and silver. This is a vein of silver, lead, zinc, copper, gold. And right where the entrance to the mine is where they cross. Now the Spanish, what they did was, they put on their maps, X marks the spot. Well, it means more than just X marks the spot on the map. It was really very similar to the type of mining they were doing. They were doing mining where two veins cross, two faults cross. That meant they can go in there with a pick and a shovel and not have to use explosives. Because they didn't really have explosives. In some cases they had black powder for their weapons, but they rather used it for hunting and killing Native Americans that were trying to kill them. Because they didn't want to be slaves. And the Spanish were really good at trying to make everyone a slave. Okay, now come on in.
See these hoses here? I did all the connections on all these hoses here.
So for sure we're gonna die. Just kidding.
Dumb ways to die. Going into mine.
Cracks are probably not the right, shoot.
As soon as it pulls off from the outside,
And then you got it from the
the
desert.
core of the mountain is so cold.
Okay.
It's
We went
gorgeous
to
in here.
Carlsbad in New Mexico.
Love it.
It
Yeah.
was fucking 100 degrees
Come on
outside.
in.
It was so cold.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
You said we could take pictures on the way back on it. Oh mercy, yes it is cold in here.
Come on in, everybody. Come on in. You can come past me and everything. This is a disadvantage of having everybody together, but I think you're a big family and you like working together.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Spanish came in here, and the vein I was showing you outside the entrance, this is what goes down right here. And if you look, you'll see a timber down there. There's a 2-compartment shaft that Spanish went down. And the Spanish would do, they dig down an area maybe 6 feet by a couple feet wide, 10 foot deep. And they got that's all ore. And they dig a little coyote hole, and they go down again. And this would be the first level of the shaft. The second level would be here, and a little coyote hole, and they put a pole from an old tree. They notch it all up, and they do one here, one here, one here, one here. It was the conveyor belt of the day. It was the way they did shafts. They didn't have to use a windlass or anything. They didn't have any equipment in that. But they did have wood. They had hole in the ground. They made their shaft out of the hole, and they made their ladders out of the wooden poles. They put notches on it. So what they do is each one of those levels would have a Spaniard, and then the guy down at the bottom where they're digging, they'd fill a sack up, walk up that pole with the notches on it, hand it to the guy in the next level. He'd walk up the pole, hand it to the next level. So we'd go from one level to another level, another level, another level, another level. It was the conveyor belt of the day. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why they had problems with the Native Americans, because they needed a lot of slaves to do those bags on each one of them levels and to dig the holes. Native Americans said, hey, you know what, if we're going to die in a mine, I think we're going to die trying to kill these boys. And that's why the Spanish didn't last here very long. Okay? Now, any questions? Okay,
Years and
right
dates?
above us, we have a pretty good sized room here. This was one big body of silver and lead zinc ore. Now, if you notice right here, next to the timber, there's a pillar of ore. School Mines did a symposium there, and they put it with their XRF gun and said, what the hell is that? He said, calcite. It's like 82% silver.
Wow.
So, when you're working in your mine, you're not just looking for the silver, lead, zinc, copper, gold. You're looking pretty much for everything. Anytime you get somebody in with another eye, you'll find something different. This mine started for me as silver, lead, zinc, sulfide ore. I got in here, now that's petzite, that's a telluride ore. Get back in here, we find silver carbonate. On one side, we find silver chloride. And I'll point all these out to you. And we get back in, or way back in, we find iron pyrite with gold in it. And we find chalcopyrite with gold in it. And we find a thing called Coloradorite. Coloradorite is mercury tellurium. Your silver, lead, zinc, copper, gold may have cinnabar in that. And that's mercury ore too. There's two types of mercury ore in here. Don't have to worry about the mercury because the temperature's so cold, you don't have any contamination. Mercury only works when it's about 70 degrees. So unless we run a heater in here, we're safe. Every time we turn around, we find something different. I got some boys from the smuggler mine. They came in and they had the eye from the smuggler because the smuggler has the biggest single silver nugget that was ever found in the world. 1,830 pounds solid silver nugget.
Yummy.
And it wasn't no rock in there, it was solid silver. They busted that up in 3 pieces to get it out of the mine. It was so big.
Wow.
So these guys come here and they're poking around and we found wire silver in here. Because it was the same basic ore that they had in the smuggler mine. And I'll start showing you that stuff when we get back in. So anytime you got a question, feel free to ask, and I'm glad to try to answer it.
Awesome. Thanks, Jesse.
Guys.
This isn't like a tag team thing. You go, she goes, you go, she goes. Come sit down here, look.
Wasn't sure, wasn't Make sure you weren't filming me.
Okay, hold on now.
Starting to get cold.
Okay, this area right here, remember I was telling you about the veins? There's a vein of gold and silver that goes right down here. It goes on an angle, right like this, from our upper right to our lower left. There's an earthquake fault. And if you know anything about earthquakes, the faults go up and down, back and forth. When they're doing that, they're breaking the ground up. The advantage of going where X marks the spot, which means you have 2 faults and you have 2 veins, is we have a little fault right here. Now the ground went up and down, back and forth a second time. Now to give you an idea, see where these little cracks that are black? That's silver. And what happens is, those cracks are there, the minerals come in and they actually glue the rock back together. And you know how everything is once something is broken, it's never as strong as it used to be. Well, that's why when they came in there with picks and shovels, it broke up real easy. In fact, probably for the first 30 years I was in here, I didn't use explosives. I didn't do nothing but a pick and a shovel, just like the Spaniards did. Had no problem. Now I want to do it a little faster, get a little bit more done. I use, something that blows up.
Yeah.
So you got a question, young man?
Waving at the baby. What year did this mine open up?
Spaniards started about 1840s, 1850s.
Wow.
And it was kind of shut down until Gregory and them guys discovered this was a gold-bearing area back in the 1850s. When they put the railroad in, the railroad brought the Chinese to build it. Out there, that whole area where the railroad was Chinatown. Where you guys are digging down there was part of Chinatown. And in the old days, I found the remains of Chinese and left them right in place. And then what happened was the Chinese did this little hole right here. And they were willing to follow the one vein, and that's when they had the advent of black powder and starting to work with nitro. So that was the very first explosives in here. Then what happened in 1870s, Central City got burned down. It was burned down by the Chinese laundry up by Dossel Alley. Shortly after that, the Chinese disappeared from this area. And I had some psychics in here. The psychics said down that area in the old Spanish workings, it was very possible they buried 13 or 14 bodies of Chinamen. They didn't kill them in here. They just used this as a way to bury them. And they don't give me a hard time. I don't give them a hard time, so we get along real well. And we're gonna probably do a plaque for them talking about it. But everyone wonders why people didn't like the Chinese. Well, they burned Central City down. That was a good excuse. But they always had a problem with the Chinese because they would go right where all of you are digging after you've all been digging and taking out the gold you did, and they go back in there and they get more gold than you did. Okay?
Yeah.
Because they knew what they were doing. They knew how to see the gold that you guys were losing. And that's why when I'm working on processing gold, for every ounce of gold most people get that they can pick, we find 90 ounces of gold that you lose. The key is to get good at getting the gold you can't see. And that is a real trick to do. But it's well worth it because number one, you are handling the dirt. You're handling the material. Why not get a bigger bang for the buck? Why not get more gold than
That's the goal.
the average guy that could care less, you know? And that takes time and doing things. When I ran my operation, I had 200 foot of sluice box. Cleanup really sucked. And that's why I had a shaker table. Okay, come on in. Any more questions?
So I'll use that wondering, is 3 feet enough?
What?
It is 3 feet enough.
36 inches for your sluice box.
Oh, okay.
Some say that's all you need. That's all you need. I'm like, no, you need an extension. You need a long tom. If you're filling it fast, you need even a longer tom. It's all about how you're feeding. If you're working slow, you still need a small extension.
Come on, bunch up, get in here. Come on, squeeze together, you know how to do it. Come on, move in a little bit more. Move in a little more. Make room for everybody. Pretend you're in school and they're making you move over. Okay, this area here is one of the places we're working. If you notice, there's a lot of white areas in here. Okay? This is for some of you guys in the back, me can't see. All the white areas, that's silver chloride. That's predominantly what the old Spanish miners wanted, the silver chloride. And it's all through this mine. Now, this stuff here is like clay. This used to be white as your hard hats are, okay? And what they did is they take this and they take it out there and they'd have a burro or a horse or a mule or whatever they could, put it in a little raster, put this out there and crush whatever rocks in there. And the crushing was only part of it. The main part was the animal waste. They used the animal waste to change this from a chloride into a oxide.
What?
Okay? And what we do now is we take this stuff and put it in a 5-gallon bucket, put water in it, and mix it with a paint mixer till it's the consistency of a thin shake. And then we add a little more water, and then we put thiourea in it, which is animal waste from the cattle range. And we mix that up so it's the consistency of maybe a malt. And we dump it out on a drying tray like your tubs that you pan in. Let it all dry up. It's all oxidized. It all turns black, just like this is trying to do by itself. That's why you see a lot of black in the mine around that stuff. Your silver coins, they turn black. Grandma's silverware turned black.
Yeah, when I'm in teens.
Okay, now you still shine Grandma's silverware?
I know how to do it, yeah.
Well, you know what? In the 1960s, I got tired of shining it, and that was when clear acrylic spray came out. I took and shine the silver. You never eat with it.
Yeah,
Okay, so you shine it up really good.
make it look
And you
nice.
put a dusting of clear acrylic spray on it, let it dry, and you put it away. And you know what makes the silverware turn black? The air
Yeah.
and the light.
Oh, the
You
light.
shut the air off your silverware. It doesn't matter how much light is on it. You shut the light off on it, and you have the air. Still not gonna do it. So you have to have a combination of air and a light, making the silver turn
Tarnish.
black. And so we're making it that oxide and turning it out into the sun, making it turn where we can turn around and melt it. You know, when I got all my grandmas and all my relatives silverware that I did that to,
Yeah.
this is 60-some years ago I did that. You wanna know what the silverware looks like?
Same.
Brand new.
Same as the day that I sprayed it with acrylic spray. Who would have known that 60-some years later, remember the faults, the cracks. And I'll show you some more areas back there, but right behind you is the bottom of that vein. And the vein came up on an angle right into this room. And if you look in here, you can see the silver ore, just like that piece of silver that you got out there. And if you look, that's silver chloride again. Silver chloride all through the mine. And where we got through drilling and blasting is right up these stairs. I really don't like taking people up here because these stairs are extremely slick. If you can all come up here, this is our ventilation fan.
Oops, sorry. Sounds like an airplane.
Next time we blast, we got 2 more fans that we're gonna hook up back there for ventilation. And when we're power washing, that's one of the big things we're doing now. We got our 1-inch water line in here for drilling, but we also use it for power washing. And then what we're doing is the power washing, you see these little seams like this? Power wash it, and we find it, we take a Falcon MD20. And I don't know how many of you have seen that. You know, you need to get one if you're running a sluice box or looking at hard rock. And the reason is this. We went around after it's washed and we went around on the seam and the seam would go off. Take a plastic pan and scrape that material off in the plastic pan until there's no more beeping. And we put it in the pan and we isolated it. We found wire silver. That's what the guys from the Smuggler Mine taught me. Well, one place we found a piece of pure white quartz and nice pure yellow gold in that little piece of quartz. So it's like, it'll pick up a piece of quartz gold so small that you cannot see it with the naked eye. There ain't another metal detector that I know that will do that. So what we used to do when we ran our sluice box, we take all the rocks that we screen out of our sluice box, look at them, and there's no gold in there, we put them in a bucket. Okay? And what we do when them buckets get really full, we run our sluice box with just the rocks that come out of our cleanup. And we're concentrating the rocks. And then I used to take those rocks after we run it through a sluice box 2 or 3 times, we'd put them in a little ball mill, a little rod mill. And what it would do is it would crush and pulverize all those quartz rocks that came out of our sluice box. And a 5-gallon bucket of that, if it's properly collected, in the little rod mill, you take everything out of the rod mill, and you put it in a 300 mesh screen, and what's in the 300 mesh screen is gold that looks like gold slider. And we were getting roughly $90 worth of gold out of those little bit of quartz rocks that you're throwing away after you clean your sluice box.
Those are the
Now-
ones I collect up.
Now, you can go down to Arkansas, and you're not gonna find this. You can go down there at A-Bar, you're not gonna find this. You're finding this because we're right here below where all the ore deposits were, and those small pieces of quartz have not been broken up enough from that creek going down there running them great big rocks down the creek, crushing them pieces of quartz. But in this area, Clear Creek, it's got the same, 119 and Highway 6, from that point up, you'll find that in your concentrate and take out your sluice box.
Okay.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. So now I don't do the ball mill thing. I don't do the rod mill thing with my concentrate. I take that, my rocks, put them in a plastic tub, away from any metal, and I just take the pinpointer over all the rocks I take out of my box for my concentrate, and if it does, the pinpointer don't pick anything up, awesome. Okay? But we didn't have the pinpointer 20, 30, 40 years ago. We had old style metal detectors. Old style metal detectors don't pick up gold, you can't see it unless you use a microscope. Okay. So, a couple of you guys might want to just slip around and take a look up the stove. We won't let the kids in there to trust it.
They said, guys, when look, kids can't go up there.
We'll get it on camera for them.
And remember this, if you go up there and get hurt, we chain you up, and we put you to work till you heal.
Oh, it's okay.
You're probably better off leaving with somebody. And you can go, if you guys feel good enough climbing up there, you can go all the way up into the stope. It's been inspected so that it really hard down and inspected.
Heck yeah.
That air tank and piping we just got done a day or two before I went to Arizona.
Nice. We're heading up the stope.
Slippery incline, but going up. This is really cool.
This is where the workings are.
Where the real work's doing.
Yeah, this is all nice gold ore in here, guys.
Wow.
Silver, gold, huckleberry.
Yeah.
What do you think, brother?
That's cool. We've got a lot of this rusted color at my place.
Yeah. The iron
Yeah.
all coming through, that's a good sign.
The stuff that's been on the surface for a long time, it's almost rusted out and like clumps together.
Little, like, holes going through it from
It almost looks
corroding
like
out.
lava rock, but it's
Right.
not. It's like iron.
Yeah, yeah,
All silver.
yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Look at that vein just coming down.
Yeah.
The other side right there.
That's molybdenum up there, huh? On
Where
the
at?
top. Molybdenum.
Possibly.
Then it comes back down right
The
here.
gold.
Over here?
Yeah, that's molybdenum right here too.
Yep.
Oh man, it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, me too.
This is so freaking cool.
Yeah, y'all are more than welcome to come out to my place in Westcliff. It's quite the drive, and I don't have anything inside the shafts yet. But I mean,
I got some
if you went
tools
and
stuff.
picked 10 mine shafts, everybody could pick 10.
Yeah, heck yeah. Yes, send me a message and then maybe get together sometime, brother.
And then I'll start going.
Yeah, I want to falling rocks on you. Look how sexy that is on that wall.
Oh, that shit is beautiful.
There's some gold right there. Piece of gold right in there. Let's go get the tour
samples.
Heck yeah. Hey, open up. It's a tight squeeze.
But you gotta know stuff. You gotta know how to drill the glass, you gotta have to know all the different things. And what do you guys think up there?
It's
That is
gorgeous.
beautiful. Those veins look
When I
nice.
blasted the initial vein in the stove, it was like 7.5 feet.
Just came from in there.
After I finished blasting, I found it was like 7.5, 8 feet, 15 feet.
Yeah, go right ahead. You can go all the way on up there.
You
Check
know, like kitchen rules.
Next time we blasted,
Yeah.
an hour or two before we blasted.
all the way up where they're going to be blasting
And
tomorrow.
that's why we're set up to do.
You can go all the way up there if you like.
And we're
So we go all the way down this way.
So we're gonna go back now, guys, and
All right.
You go back this way?
no, we're going the other way. Make a right turn.
Got one up top.
I was like, wait a minute, think about that one for a minute.
There's another little room you can bunch up in.
Is that the beginning of the
Water
stope?
tank for pressure.
How come we didn't
You
go
know
up
what
in there,
that's the sound
Landon?
of, don't you?
You should go up in there on the way back. We'll look at it. Huh? All right.
know that, did
Go
you?
check it out.
No.
Check out the different veins they're drilling, and that's where they're
Yeah,
knocking all
different
the
crowds is
silver and
Okay, come on in here, guys.
right behind you.
Okay, so when we're up in the stope where you guys were, and for those of you that didn't go up in there, you can see it.
Where are we looking at? Is it the
All
stairs?
the way up there where the buckets are.
And then all that fresh water that's been
We
dug
just
out.
came from up
So,
there.
everything came up from the vein behind you, hit this broken area right where we're at, and made a big pod or pocket. So, we power washed it, you see this? This is one pillar of the silver ore. Goes all the way down. It's staying there because if it's gone, we have to put support. Okay? Now, it made that deposit right here, and then it made a turn. And it went up this thing. This is like a lava pipe going up instead of a lava pipe going down into the ocean like in Hawaii. But this went up, and did you notice that wall where the steel was?
Yeah.
It's a solid pillar of rock. And what it is it's a dike. It's 23 foot thick. And we can see it on the surface. And remind me to show it to you when we get out, what it looks like on the surface. And it hit that dike like this, and now all the ore is going straight up. To give you an idea, anybody familiar with how the earthquakes and the volcanoes go in like in Hawaii? You see all that lava? Well, back in 1964, one of my relatives worked on an early warning station up there out of Alaska. And he was back in Wisconsin, and the island disappeared, and some of his buddies disappeared along with him. Well, during that year, my parents were showing me all these pictures on these little film things of the volcanoes in Hawaii and the rivers of lava. Okay, so what happened was when the Alaskan earthquake was destroyed Anchorage and everything up there, and it was a big earthquake. It also shifted one of these dikes to shut that volcanic flow off, one of them rivers of lava, and it just cooled and it went out to the ocean and left a pipe, lava tube. I met some geologists a couple of years ago that they were commissioned by USGS to go down there and go in those lava tubes. And they found in them lava tubes gold, silver, and platinum on the residue on the walls. Because volcanoes do migrate tremendous amounts of metal, whether they blow it in the air or they push it in the lava down to the ocean. And they said that it was the most amazing thing that big sheet just shut the volcano tube off from Kilauea. Wow. And so, did you notice the earthquakes we've had the last few years? And have you noticed the volcanic activity going back in Hawaii? And you have them rivers of lava again, going through those nice roads and fields and houses and developments. Those are the houses and developments and that was from that area back in '64. They built on top of it because they figured it was extinct. It wasn't going to open up again. But they didn't know those tubes were still open. They weren't just cool lava in the ground. So that's what opened them rivers back up. So they went to the ocean. The earthquakes that we've got are affecting a lot of things with lava and volcanoes. But this lava tube went all the way up to the surface, but it didn't blow up like a volcano. The Glory Hole is a volcano that never blew up. It went up there, it's a perfectly shaped volcano. You can go up there and in the middle of it is just full of gold and silver and metal bearing stuff. The reason it didn't blow up is because when that volcano was ready to blow up, there was 3 miles of dirt on top of us. That 3 miles of dirt kept enough packing material on there to keep a volcano from shooting its lava. And then what happened was is all that dirt got washed by the ancient river, which filled in the ocean between here and the Adirondacks. And that's why when Gregory and Russell came from the East Coast, they hit some of that alluvial fine dust that had been washed east. And that's where they followed the little yellow trail all the way to here. In fact, some of the stories were they panned up the Mississippi and they found a little gold on the east side of the Mississippi. They went across the Mississippi, they found a little bit bigger gold, and they just kept going up the Platte River until they got to where? Cherry Creek, Golden, Central City, Blackhawk, Idaho Springs. And the interesting thing about it is if you go north into Wisconsin, there's a Native American tribe, Chippewa Nation. Guess what they got on their land up there? Deposits of gold. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, all those areas that got gold. So how many of you looked at the Weather Channel this year and seen how the storms this winter were from the west coast to the east coast? And the clouds and the storm patterns are just hanging down across the United States. Anybody remember that?
And then the, what was it, the supercell.
Right. Well, you take a look at the dimension of when the glacier receded. It's the same dimension across the northern part of the United States. Now, you bring that down a little bit further, the glacial deposits that were there in Iowa, Ohio, Indiana, Minnesota, all those glacier deposits, people are back there digging gold. When you go back east like that, you look around for Round River Rock and look for your black sand, and you start finding gold. There are people that are panning gold on the beach in Chicago inside of the Sears Tower. They're running cubes, gold cubes in there, and they're getting gold. I've been up in the Grand River in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and the peat bog that's up there, we would take slabs of peat, dry it in a black tub and shake it off, put a little Dawn soap in there, and we have just as much gold as some of you guys are panning in the Grand River in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Wow.
So,
Miner's moss.
Yep. Yeah, that's the design of miner's moss is the peat bog. And there you'll find some areas in Gilpin County, and it's got to be everywhere else. They didn't mine the material because the peat bog kept them from using the big equipment. But that doesn't stop you guys with picking a shovel and maybe a saw and an axe, get in there and get through the peat bogs and get yourself some pretty good gold. So any questions?
Oh, that's awesome.
No? Who wants to give up their daily day job and do this for a living?
I did.
No thanks.
I do.
Come here and spend a little time and we'll show you what it's like and see if you really want to do it.
Yeah.
I got another 1,000 foot of this rail to bend.
Well, you looking for some extra hands?
Well, anytime you want to learn how to do this, the mining companies and the mining industry is going back to the old school with track and that, because they can't afford to build it big enough so a rubber-tired loader can come in here.
Yeah.
They can't afford to drill and blast sex rock, or leverite.
Right.
They want to take just the vein. Now, there's 2/3 of a mile of workings in there. How much of a waste dump, ore dump, or mine dump do you see outside this mine?
None.
Nothing. Everything they took out of here goes to the processor. Everything that you walked in there in that stove is all going in a bag and going to the mill. That's the way mining should be. You shouldn't be taking out rock that doesn't belong on the surface. It belongs in here. Okay, put your head on out.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was awesome, brother.
Yeah.
Ooh. No, that's my fault.
Thanks for watching Native Arizona Adventures. Please like and subscribe. Check out Stars Prospecting and Rohando's Adventures. Tag teaming this up. Slay. Hashtag.
Rest of her cons.
First run.
The first run. Second run got cut short. Flooded out again.